Welcome back to my Claude and Excel series. This is built for current and aspiring CFOs who are playing around with the Claude Excel plugin and trying to just build some cool stuff that can help them move faster internally. And so today we're going to be building a sales capacity model. You can't really do annual planning without a sales capacity model because it's the bottoms up build of your company's revenue potential. You go rep by rep, segment by segment, and month by month. And most companies get this wrong because they don't build enough capacity. They think they do. They hired too late in the year, or they use efficiency gains as a plug to make the math work. So I've had a mysterious efficiency plug in many an operating model. But don't worry, these reps will just get 4% better. It all foots. So I've made all these mistakes. And today I'm building the whole model live using Claude and Excel. If you follow along here, you're going to be able to build a kick-ass model. So let's get into it. All right, so this is the file we're dealing with here. It looks like I've got 4 tabs. So the first one is the rep roster. The next one is the hiring plan. The next one is the support staff. And the final one is the revenue targets for the model. So let's go through one by one and see what we're dealing with. So we got 23 reps across different segments. Looks like this person is in 2. I don't know how that's possible. We're going to need to do some fixing. Ent and enterprise, strategic. All right, so they all have start dates. Here's their OTE on target earnings, and then it's got it split into a base and a variable component. Cool. And then we got their annual quotas, their manager, their region, and their status. This is interesting. So this person's on a PIP, this person resigned, and this person has not started. Then we get the hiring plan. We've got 8 spots, and we don't know who they are yet, right? Looks like some of these are offer extended. Some are still open. Some of these don't have a quota assigned. And then a target start date. Okay, so that probably informs the priority to an extent. Yeah, we're definitely going to need some sort of assumption for ramping depending on when they start. And here's the supporting staff. So you've got BDRs, SEs, sales managers, and then a people manager. So hopefully this is enough. Lena supports 3 enterprise reps as an SE. Cool, so there's a ratio. Lisa supports 5 SMB reps as a sales manager. Okay, so that's our span of control. And finally, we get the revenue targets. So we got 3 segments, ARR targets for the year. So this is net new ARR we're trying to add. And then we get Q1 through Q4. So this is the seasonality. Let's see, is this foot? Cool, so we're trying to add $12 million next year. All right, so this is kind of a cool party trick that I do. I design my prompts in Claude Desktop before moving over to Claude and Excel. And I think I call it kind of Claude Eating Claude. I think this helps you end up with a better prompt that has better context going into it. So I'm going to say, you need to build a sales capacity model for 2026. I have a rep roster, a hiring plan, supporting staff, and revenue targets. Before we build anything, I want to design a prompt together. I will feed this into Claude Excel. What decisions do I need to make? What problems do you see? And do we have enough capacity to hit our number? All right, I've gone through all 4 tabs. Here's what I'm seeing. Data quality issues. Yep. Segment labels need cleanup. We saw that. 9 variants. Ooh, mismatch. Silly Derek, not started. There's one without a quota assigned. 1 enterprise BDR slot is open. Someone got promoted. Ooh, the backfill. That's a tricky one. Surprised I got that. All right. Ask me those questions here in multiple choice format. All right, ramp curves by segment. Which approach? SMB 3 months, mid-market 5, enterprise 8. SMB 2 months, 4, 6. I'm going to go with 4, 6, 9, actually. Over assignment targets. How much cushion above the board plan? Great question. I love this. And you don't want it to over assign. I think it should be... Enterprise definitely needs the most cushion. You know, there's a lot going on in the macro right now. I'm going to give this a lot of cushion. Heavy. Expected attainment. I'm going to go with standard, so 85, 75, 65. Conservative ramp plus heavy over assignment. You're planning for a rough ride. All right, I didn't ask for the commentary there. That's the posture of somebody who's been burned by... I have. How'd you know? The PIP, Kayla. How do you want to model her? 0. 2.9 quota-to-OTE. Model a quota increase. Missing quotas and 2 plan hires. Use segment median. Yeah, rule of thumb, if you have someone on a PIP, just model it as 0. All right, here's the prompt. Need to build a sales capacity model for 2026. This is way more robust. Create a clean roster sheet. Yep. Normalize. Let's get the steps on the PIP. So we're cleaning up all the data here, right? All those discrepancies. Then we're going to create a ramp schedule sheet. This is hot. For each rep, show their monthly ramp percentage. January. I like how it did the numbers like 15, 25, 40, 60. That was always a hard ratio to do in Excel. Effective capacity sheet. All right, got it. So, and then you adjust for overassignment and expected attainment, create a coverage analysis sheet. See, this is way better than what I was originally going to put in. I was just going to say, hey, I need to build a quota capacity model. Here's the data. Create a pod economic sheet. Boom. Time to let it cook. So I got my Claude application right here. Enter. Shall I proceed? Yeah, you should proceed. Yes, please proceed. Here we go.
20 minutes later.
All right, we're back. I'm not going to lie. That one took a little bit longer than normal. We asked it to do a lot of work. Producer Steve can put the approximate time it took to chef this up right here. All right, cool. So this is the clean roster. Oh, all right. And then it broke it. I would usually do it like this too, where it has the planned hires down below. Not started. Okay, so that's why we know this guy's name, Derek. Offer extended, open, offer extended, open, offer. Okay, cool. Interviewing. So it has the statuses. Move from rep roster. Oh, nice. It has the flags of what we did. So this person, remember they're on a PIP, so we wanted to do 0 capacity. We overrode it. This person down here, we had to fix their quota because they were too expensive. This one on a manager mismatch, and this one resigns, so 0 capacity. Nice. This is a very clean roster of people here. I feel confident working with these. Let's check the ramp schedule. It's cool that it logs what it did too. Oh, this is hot. Okay, so S&B 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. Yeah. Mid-market 15, 25, 40, 60, 80, 95, 100. So it stretches out to 7. Enterprise 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 55, 70. Month 10 plus. Okay, so it goes the full 9 months to get there. Yeah, because this one's effectively takes 6 months. For example, this person here, he's been here for a while, so he's already 100% ramped, so that totally checks out. This person, Rachel, she just started in December of 25, so she's still partially through her ramp, right? This is nice. Did a formula, too, to calculate, so it's dynamic, so we can change, that's sick. So we can change the ramping up top if we need to, depending on if we see a different reality out in the field. This person here, Kayla, remember she's on a PIP, so we zeroed her out. Anything we get out of her, possibly turning it around, is a bonus. Nice. All right. So then we go down below to the planned hires, because this is everyone we have butts and seats today. And the people who are still relatively new and ramping, that's also contemplated, which is awesome. Oh, and this person here is resigning. So Derek, we know when his start date is, so we can start to ramp him after that. That's amazing. This A here, we don't know who they are, do we? But that's okay. We have an expected date. The same thing for these people. So we want them to ramp up over time with the expected date. Oh, wow. Flagged it. So effective capacity. Let's check this out. Remember those assumptions we logged? So S&B, 130% over assignment, expected attainment 85, mid-market, 135% over assignment, 75% attainment, enterprise, 115, 65. So has each rep existing and planned, then it has their annual quota, and then it puts it in dollar terms. So it's probably, yeah, it's multiplying out based on the ramp schedule we had here. This is exactly how I would have done it. And so like this person here, it's not going to sum to a full quota because he's not there for the whole year. Planned hires, realistic monthly capacity. So this here looks like it's taking the numbers above, but applying the assumptions around expected attainment. Quota breaks down monthly to about 29,000, but we expect them to only hit 19 conservatively. Sarah, same type of deal, 37.5 quota, but we expect her to hit about 24.5. Here are the planned hires, same deal. All right, here's our capacity. This is kind of a drum roll moment here. So we have it broken down by segment. Looks like here. Oh, cool. So it broke out the coverage. This is cool. It broke out the coverage analysis and created ratios based on the realistic capacity and the revenue target and what our gap is to where we want to be. So across the board, yikes, S&B in the red, as you can see. We have about around 90% coverage there. Mid-market, we're good for Q1, but we need more capacity if we want to keep those numbers for Q2, 3, and 4. And then enterprise, same thing. And then if we look at the total company, we are off for all 4 quarters. We're close for Q1, but it's the out quarters, which tells me we need to hire more people and open more racks. So key findings, enterprise has a massive coverage gap from Q2 onward only, 60% covered. S&B is under covered all year. Total company is, so we're 2.15 million short of the $12 million target, so less than 10 million. So remember, we want to hit 12 million. This is a gap. And then it's going to flag some other sanity checks here. What did it write? So I always do the quota to OTE ratio check. That this is absolutely crucial. It should be over, in my opinion, 5x. If you're earlier on, minimally 3x. But like if you pay somebody 100 grand, they should at least be bringing in 300 grand, 500 grand for the company. Below 5x minimum. We could tweak this and say maybe 4x. This person here is good. But we either need to pay people a little bit less, that's probably not going to happen, or increase the quota a bit. Implied deal per rep per quarter. So this is what I call sales rep math. The physics make sense of how many deals are going to have to close. So average ACV, this is sweet. So you can change these here. 10,000, 40,000, 150,000. Average annual quota. How many deals does that imply? And then it does an assessment. Can an SMB rep do 10 deals per quarter? I think so. So like 3 and change per month. Can a mid-market rep do 5 deals per quarter? Oh, yeah, I think so. Can enterprise deal do 3 deals per quarter? I actually don't think they could do that. That would be a lot. And then here you get the support ratios by segment. I cannot believe it came up with all these sanity checks. So what are the ratios? 2 to 9, 2 to 8, 3 to 3. SEs. So the ratios you're going to have to check are your BDRs for pipeline support, your SEs for doing the demos, and then your managers for span of control. Those are the 3 that I would check. Quota carrier percentage. Target over 33% of total sales orders should be individual quota carriers. Another one. So I fed Claude a piece that I had written about the sanity checks that I always do at the end, and it listened. Once again, it does the quota to OTE ratio. So that's what you're paying somebody versus what they're bringing into the company. You need it to be accretive because the sales rep support everybody else's salary at the company. The implied deal volume per rep per quarter. So this is how many actual deals you have to do. Maybe the dollars make sense, but the velocity of deals, the sheer number of deals you have to do don't. Your support ratio by segment. So this third check here is, do you have the surrounding pod? Are you investing there enough? And then finally, the quota carrier percentage. So minimally, in my opinion, 1/3 of your reps should be individual quota carriers. Pod economics, let's see here. Cost structure by segment. Rep OTE cost. So this is telling you how much it costs to run each segment of your org, and then what their revenue target is. And then you're looking at the pod cost as a percentage of revenue. And so for every $1 of revenue you bring in, it's costing 61 cents in SMB, 60 cents in the mid-market, 42 cents in the enterprise ratio is actually really good. And the total overall is, I would guess this org is still losing money based on this. It has a couple of flags. Enterprise segment has an open BDR position. So that's always dangerous because you promote someone and then you don't backfill them. So then you're missing somebody in a different parking spot in the org. And it's worried about enterprise coverage. Cool. All right, I'm going to ask Claude a question here to test what we've come up with. I'm going to say, given the current roster, hiring plans, and ramp schedules, what is our probability of hitting the $12 million new ARR target? Where are we short? What would you recommend to close the gap? We already know we're probably short by a little over 2 million. 20 to 25%. Model shows 9.85 in realistic annual capacity against a $12 million target. Like we said, $2.15 million shortfall, 82% coverage. And then it gives the realistic capacity by segment. And enterprise is the crisis. It accounts for 66% of the total gap, 1.42 of the 2.15. And then it gives you the root cause by rep. This is badass. And then it says it gets worse actually by quarter. So it starts in Q1 is a little bit rocky, but then it gets disastrous. Recommendations to close the gap. Accelerate enterprise hiring. We got to open some racks. Pull start dates forward. Fill the enterprise BDR backfill immediately. Increase mid-market quota loading. Okay, so it actually prioritizes these. These are cool. Nice. Bottom line, without changes, you're tracking to under 10. Biggest single fix is enterprise hiring velocity. All right, I'm going to ask one more. So now we're going to ask a scenario question to see if this thing can survive tests. What if we accelerated the 2 enterprise hires by 1 month each and added a backfill BDR for enterprise? Show me the impact on Q3 and Q4 coverage.
5 minutes later.
All right, let's see what this scenario came back with. And once again, we're doing this because like a model isn't very useful if you can't stress test it and ask questions. What's cool about this is you can ask the question in like plain English and it gives you back numbers rather than having to actually run it yourself and kind of wonder. So scenario impact, accelerating enterprise hires by 1 month each. So it gives you the current and then the scenario. So like capacity, that's it. 41K, Q4 current 952 goes to 990, 37K, target coverage gap, total company coverage. All right, so current capacity, like we said, 985, gets us to 996, delta of 109K, that's it. Annual coverage goes from 82 to 83, that sucks. Remaining gap still 2 million. The uncomfortable truth, yeah, I'd say it's uncomfortable. Accelerating both hires by 1 month only recovers 109K annually, about 5% of the $2 million gap. Oh, well, I guess it makes sense. Enterprise reps ramp over 9 months, so shifting start dates by 1 month only adds 1 incremental ramp step per month. The BDR backfill is a pipeline play. It doesn't directly add quota. All right, so to materially close the gap, you need some combination of a net new enterprise AE rec, not just accelerating existing ones. I was trying to just save some money by pulling them forward. Raising quotas on tenured SMB reps, improving attainment assumptions through better enablement, resetting targets to match realistic capacity. Then it asks, would you like to do the other? So I'm going to pause here, but that's incredible that it ran this comparison analysis and then says, hey, here's some other paths we can go down to try to close the gap. So it's trying to help me get there. So to summarize what we did, we went from a rep roster and a hiring plan, which was actually pretty messy, to a full capacity model with a ramp schedule, with coverage ratios, and some incredibly helpful sanity checks to make sure we are on track. And then you can run scenarios on it, which makes it really powerful. This model showed us that we have a capacity gap in enterprise during the 2 quarters that matter most, Q3 and Q4. And that one promoted BDR, actually, it caught this. We didn't backfill that person, and it's going to cost us downstream. This is the model I wish I had built faster at every company I've worked at. Prompts, data, and walkthrough are in the newsletter at mostlymetrics.com. See you next time.